Hi, I'm Joseph Crudup. Welcome to my storybook. We begin our final part 8 of this book called How to Beat the Bully Without Really Trying. We start at the last three chapters 27, 28, 29, and then, of course, well, let's just say we added four chapters 27, 28, 29, and 30. We start at this chapter, chapter 27. The final stretch. It was finally here, the last week of school. We were heading to super investment on Tuesday and graduating on Wednesday. 3 days left, sitting in class Monday morning. It seems like everything was going on my way. Miss Lunsford was running out of time to talk to me. News of my non-jogging case had spread throughout school, and Josh has been missing in action since the dance. I smiled, realizing I might not see him again this year. his parents, his parent, his printer, and Quan sat next to me, scolding, but he didn't matter to me anymore. Time to coast to the fish. Time to coast to the fish, I thought. You think I would have long? Things didn't start being bad right away. In fact, mine was pretty normal. If you consider a crazy teacher normal, as you know, we are heading to super investment tomorrow, Miss Lunsford announced. We checked and we chilled and immediately her white eyebrows started dancing all around. The thought of us having fun was enough to send her over the edge. Silence, she shouted. I can still cancel tomorrow's executioner if I choose. That shut up. That shut us up. Satisfied, she continued. Today, Mr. Philbertot has informed me that you'll be staying with him tomorrow because of Lord involvement in a court incident at the dance. But you say you take care of old Phil. Don't interrupt me, Lord Man, Miss Lunsford shouted, suddenly moving towards him like a leopard about a pound to pounce. Admittedly can be a dangerous thing. Normally, that would be an old comment for a teacher to make, but this was Miss Lunscront. After all, Toby slumped down into his chair as she stood over him. It was interesting to watch someone us go through to Lunscront's international session. After a nasty pause, she headed to her desk. Toby wasn't a legendary school dog for nothing. But as soon as Miss Lunscront's back hat was torn, he screwed up his face and stuck out his tongue. It'd be hard to eat lunch without that thing. She snapped, her back still facing him. The woman definitely has superpowers. Soon enough, I will be losing all my powers to outsmart her. The rest of the day, I spent as much time as I could with Jessica. We talked about the trip and the summer before us. The late June air was hot, and I soaked in it, feeling good and happy right down to my bones. That night, I was too excited to sleep, but I must have, because the next thing I knew, my father was walking me up, and it was morning already. A beautiful sunny morning. Ronnie, it's 5:30 time. Time for super land, super inventor. I'm alternate. Get out of bed. My class was set to leave an hour before everyone else arrived at school. After a quick breakfast, my dad drove me to Barbara and dropped me off in front of the waiting bus. I climbed in and sat down by us. Those are the three caterpillars toward the back. Once we got going, Miss Lonscroft stood up, glared at us, and spoke the words I had been threatened. I had made up our colorful groups. I wanted to be with my buddies. But more than that, I, I desperately hope Jessica would be with me. Miss Lonscroft rattled off some names. So far, so good. Finally, she announced, as for our last group, the following students will be tough together. Will be together. Riley, Rusty, Tim, Dave, Gray, Kellen, Samantha, and Jessica. It couldn't help work out, Bella. It was almost too good. Jessica looked over at me, smiling. Rusty shouted, "It's a dream come true," as he high-fived me. Enough of that, Miss Lonscroft interrupted. Yes, since the eight of you have been so poorly behaved, I have placed you together, and I had no problem keeping an eye on you. Since I'll be your counterpart, dream come true, I whispered softly to Russ. Nightmare is more like it. Upon a day of Miss Lonscroft, I'll be with I'll be with 7 friends, so I that she will try everything freshly. But I also knew she wouldn't allow any fun. After 30 minutes of driving on the highway past cornfields, a truck stops, and more cornfields, and more cornfields. Miss Lonscroft stood up again and yelled over the noisy headrest engine. When I had no attention, a couple of the mothers in the back of the bus continued gasping it together. They didn't see the famous Lonscroft seal, nor did they see her trotting down the aisle towards them. Again, more nationalist, she shouted. I will appreciate your attention. The Californians snapped to. They looked at her, looming over them, and shivered a bit. Miss Lonscroft's rating still larger on the 2 months for 3 seconds more before she turned back and faced the rest of us. I want to go over all day, she began. Each Chaperone group may go where they want. We want to go on roller coasters, Rusty blurted, and visit the snack stands, Slim added. Miss Lonscroft's glare became as hard as marble. She continued more slowly in a clipper. Anyone turn down no more, anyone. Rusty, would you like to enjoy the inside of this bus today? And ones, she added, turning to the 2 months in the back. You must focus on your students. This is not a vacation for you. Think surely even falling down in the green seats. Do you get separate from your group? Think you do not get separate. Follow down in the green seats. Do not get separate from your group. Think you turn for the moms and have a special message just for me. Remember, Wani, I'm a sentiment parts can be dangerous place. Can be dangerous places. Chapter 28. Super Adventure. Miss Lonscroft's warning and immense parts can be dangerous places. Still echoing in my head as we pull up the super adventure. What had she meant by that? I watched her get off the bus and walk through the parking lot. I'm sure that she was going to buy up the tickets, but then she can't cut through 2 rows of cars and stop by. No, it couldn't be. It was the red car. I elbowed Rusty. Hey, who is she talking to over there? Who? Miss Lonscroft? Who cares? Can you see it? There, in the distance, it's Destination Death, the hottest, fastest, most deadly roller coaster in America. It's called us. It's calling us. Do you hear it? Ready? Why? Come on with me. You chanting in my ear. I know you hear it. That thing will scare the pants off. That thing will scare the pants right off. Watching Miss Loscott was what was scarier the pants off me. She was leaning over that car, talking to some woman wearing a big scarf and sunglasses. Every once in a while, she would pump back toward us. Eventually, the woman gal and the two of them approaches the bus. Only Miss Lonsquart climbing in back in. Ronnie, you can join me for a second. She heading back into the parking lot. My heart was pounding. Everyone was staring at me. What do you, Ronnie? Watson asked. Nothing. I'm Morton. But I think I'm about to get kidnapped. The perfect day I had planned with Jessica and my friends was going horribly wrong. I walked down the bus steps and faced the woman. Behind the shop and sunglasses, there was something familiar about her. I had seen that noises before. I was long and funny. Of course, long nose. I began to shake, remembering how crazy she had acted that day with the basketball. I see you recognize Miss Winter. Lunch crump popping up. Oh, uh, I shrugged. Yes. Well, since you're behaving so badly this year, I knew I needed a little extra help with you today. Miss Winter will personally watch your every move. I'm not sure Mr. Fairtop. I began. Don't mention his name. You yell, Brack. Long nose falling sport. Wobbling in the back of her head. After what you did to me with the basketball. You better just concentrate on getting through today. Miss Lunchcrump turned to me. Mr. Treble will learn that I took every precaution to keep my students safe. After all, Riley, your safety is my guessing concern. I shivered at that, but was glad when she finally asked anyone to exit the bus. The class immediately noticed Long Nose. He stood a few paces away. Hey, didn't you get fouled? Weston asked. Long Nose inventively heard the comment. I am a catapulter for this trip, and as such, I don't need to be importantly. Plus, I had the power to exclude you from any wild artillery. Russ, not willing to force his trip to Destination Death, just said, well, it's not to see you again. Long Nose didn't answer. The filly wasn't bolter. It was early in the day, but Super Invention was already very much alive. I could hear the rumble of roller coasters darting down from peaks. Screams filled the air. White Hard, Slim smiled. His nose was twisting, and I could see his taste buds tucking it all in. Super Invention has something for anyone. For me, that something was the blonde haired guard walking next to me. We were having fun poking things out. Look, Whitey, did you see the photo booth? Jessica asked. Let's get our pictures taken. We panted from the slow moving class and climbing into the little booth and pulled back to the curtain. My mind wasn't on the picture. Maybe this was it. I slid the money into the bill collector and looking at Jessica. Her eyes were twinkling in the dark. Okay, Rapon, I told myself, time to take my time to take my try to escape. Long Nose stuck her head in, firing my Kensington as the candle flashed, just as she tried to open her eyes. The second flash struck, temporarily and blinding and screaming. She ripped the curtain from the booth and stumbled away from the two of us, two trains from the booth and stumbled away from the two of us. We had we had time for one brief smile before the fourth and last pistol collected, and we followed her out. Long Nose was writing to herself as Miss Muscrot approaches Jessica and me. You two are not to be alone together again. In fact, Whitey, I want you to hold Miss Reynolds' hand. I want you to hold Miss Reynolds' hand. Neither of us liked the idea. Long Nose took out some entire bag of terror gel and smartened my hand before grabbing it. She had dragged me around before, and my mouth blooded, just like old times. I had to hold Low 50 hand, but I would not listen to Low 50 mouth all day. No talking. This was sharpening it out to be the worst day any kid could ever have at any amusement park. I knew we needed to get away from all the others, but the hand held me tight. Escape wouldn't be easy. Are you ready for some riders? Miss Lutskron asked. Absolutely. Where's the jail? That's good, she answered, looking at me and not at Rusty. Why don't we hack to my favorite ride? Destination Death. Destination Death? Rusty inquired. No, we won't be going anywhere near that one today. Rusty looked kind of crestfallen as we monitored through the crowds. I'm pounding on what ride could possibly be Mr. Lundgren's favorite. As it turns out, I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. With a ride in front of the bumper cars, the line was short, and it wasn't long before I was rushing out searching for the perfect car. I climbed in, put the one strap over my shoulder, and pressed down several times on the accelerator waiting for the car to zoom to life. I glared around when I felt the car home. I'd already had my first victim in my sights. Connor was too busy in alley day to notice me sights. Connor was too busy to notice day to notice me sharpening in front and behind. I helped it up. I felt a mild speed. It was closing in when I was met by jarring cries. My head snapped back and I turned to see Miss Lundgren laughing behind me in a black bumper car painted with red and orange flames. She laughed harder still as another car, driving by Long Nose, swept in and crushed it, me front to right. I was tossed around the car like a rag doll. Miss Lundgren smashed me again from behind, and then I hit the pedal, trying to escape. I zoomed off away from them, with Lund's nose hot on my tail. I tried some fancy maneuvers in an effort to lose her, but I couldn't shake her. Finally, I faked a left butt, pulled hard to the right around Dave, who was trying to escape from Keller. I was met head on by Miss Lundgren. Seconds later, Long Nose collided with me from behind. I found myself sandwiches between a pile of cracked cockroaches. The cars finally died, and I breathing a sigh of relief. Leaving the Y, Miss Noscrot and Long Nose could barely walk, but not because they were in pain. The two of them were now laughing so hard that Miss Noscrot had to bend over and hold her side. She was trying to tell Long Nose, I don't think I don't think I had ever had so much fun. We hit the rock bond kid so hard that my traveler's just flew off. That started the two of them laughing again, and I realized that was my chance. Rusty, I whispered, trying to make our escape. Spread the wall. I won until he had whispered to everyone in our group before shouting, One! If you were there, you would have seen 8 kids tailing the park, bumping into people and jump over garbage cans, but you wouldn't have seen any of those. Because after the 300 yards, Miss Lunchcront and Lord knows were now nowhere to be seen. We all laughed and slowly settled down. Samantha, however, was worried that we were now in big trouble. It'll be okay, Sam, Jessica told her. It's the second to last day of school. What can they really do to us? Besides, Rusty added, they'll be sure to blame Whitey and not you. With those wonderful words of encouragement, Samantha relaxed. Hey, did you hear Lunch Grunt call Long Nose something like Emma? She asked. Yeah, I guess that's her name, I answered. After a minute, it was Jessica who asked, Wait, her name is Emma Winner? All 8 of us burst out laughing and shouted her full name to anyone we passed. People just looked at us and shook their heads. All right, enough goofing around, Weston announced. Now that we designated those two, time for destination death. My good mood vanished. I wanted no part of it, and began fishing for the exercise, fishing for the excuse. Fortunately, Jessica grabbed my arm and opened her mouth to offer an excuse of her own. Why don't we check out that way? We all turned to where she was looking. There, right in front of us, was the tunnel of love. I wondered if she was thinking what I was thinking. Samantha gave him but Weston looked knowing. That was a joke. Let's go hit the concerts. Let's go hit the coasters. I don't know. It sounds like a good ride to me. Carla chimed in. I noticed her looking at Dave. This was my chance. Guys, it's a long flu. I pointed out. Look at the sign. Indeed, the sign showed both parting into a heart and then a big waterfall. That's a serious drop, evidently. Anyone agreed to go on the ride. Weston liked the idea of traveling down a waterfall. Slim was busy eating hot dogs and didn't care what we went. Carla was eyeing Dave, and Samantha was giggling. Passing red. Finally, Jessica and I will be alone. The 4 minute ride had an hour line. Wesley was great getting it instant by the name we nailed at the end. And when we read that the waterfall was temporarily closed, he almost went nuts. Eventually, there were 2 days, 2 ways from the hard, shopping boats to destined the town. The crashing waterfall, or the slow travel river, which was still operated by some may have been furious. But all I cared about was Jessica, and to be honest, the slower the bell. The first bell pulled up. Carla grabbed Dave and shoved him aboard. And I wondered if it stats how British sailors was singing her into the Navy years ago. Samantha, Gavin, and Nara at grad, John Hall. Jessica and I won for the next boat, Rusty said. Had a nice time, you two. You had you two had a nice time too, I replied. It happened dawned on Rusty and Slim that they'd be together in a tunnel of love. They'd look at each other. It was then it it was then that we had heard the shout. Ah! Ah! It was then that we heard the shout. There they are. Lon Norris and Miss Lunchcron had showed up just as Jessica and I climbing into our boat and floating up on the wall village. Miss Lunchcron frantically tried to press her way through the crowds. No boys and girls together. Ronnie, you're in big trouble. Climb out of that hard stain, she screamed. I read and shot back. Rest me a bull violets. With that, we wound in the corner. I looked at Jessica. She smiled, slightly nervous. I felt more comfortable. I leaned in, put my arm around her shoulder, and said, Now, where were we? She giggled and leaned closer. That's where I thought. That's where I thought. I answered and went to make my move. Ronnie, rap on. Remove your hands from that guard. I jumped and spun around about 20 feet back in the next boat. Still Miss Lunchcrunch, and she wasn't alone. Also trying to stand, but holding on for dear life, was Long Nose. They must have taken Slim and Rusty's boat. Jessica's son. Ronnie, we'll find time there. Maybe I realized that another chance to kiss her was forward, but I had greater concerns. Naming my life. We were in a bad spot alone in the tunnel. I looked back again and saw Lunchcrunch and Long Nose pressing furious against the tunnel walls, moving the boat forward. They were gaining ground. I grumbled. What would they do to me? Would they bowl out boat like some silver pirates? Ronnie, they're after us. Jessica added. Something about the tone in her voice made me take control, and for once not act like a coward. I put up well enough. And I wasn't going down without a fight. It was time I did something for myself, and shockingly, I did. We were more than halfway down the river now, and I could see a fork up ahead. There was a bump that folded our boat to the right until 1 minute's river. The other was shepherding along to the now closer wicked warfare. I saw the signs and then I saw something else as our boat started to head down the river. Back behind this dancing carpenter was a large red button. Below its button was a sign that read Main Bumper Switch. I realized that the button controlled the bumper that pushed the boats onto the river or waterfall. Hold me, I shouted to Jessica. Don't you dare touch me, yelled Lunchcrunch from behind. I looked Jessica in the eye and whispered, Hold me so I don't fall. Hold me so I don't fall. I jumped up and flung all the way over as Jessica grabbed my wrist. As we reached past the button, I was just able to reach it with one finger, but that wasn't enough. I felt it crack and glances back. The bumper that was blocking the waterfall, shipping and blocked the river as Miss Lunchcrunch and Long Nose reached the fork. Slowly, their confident, evil looks changed to surprise and pain as they handed away for us down another tube of water. Miss Lunchcrunch yelled, What's this? Not the waterfall. Turn off the Y. Turn off the Y. No. And off they flew. Jessica sat looking at me with a mixture of surprise and excitement. Look unbelievable. We're probably going to get arrested. If that's true, we might as well enjoy our last moments of freedom. And we did. Before long, our boat floated out into the light of day, in time for us to see Slim and Rusty barreling down the rhythmic waterfall. They skilled the whole way, and I knew Rusty loved it. The same couldn't be said for the park employees who were running around trying to why figure out why hot shipping boats was shooting in and out of the closed waterfall. Miss Lunchcrunch boat bumping to a stop in the upload window. She was dancing and sharpening her long nose to climb out. I guess long nose wasn't moving fast enough because Lunchcrunch gave her such a hard second shove that she topping into the canal. Long nose stood up in a full water, screaming. Lunchcrunch was probably to be every bit as crazy as I knew her to be. Her hair was matted and stuck to her head. Her dress was dripping in dark mascara, rained down her cheeks, and super advanced attendant came over to help her off the boat. Lunchcrunch swung her pocketbook at him and screaming, "You're right as Al Fartley. This place should be shut down." We didn't stick around to halt the rest. We didn't stick around to hear the rest. I'm breathing in the instrumental park air and strolled loudly through the park with Jessica at my side. Evidently, wrestling the game got the ride. That's next in depth what Jessica and I ordered at lunch. By all accounts, the coastal was scary, but not as much fun as the Tunnel of Love. But not as much fun at the Tunnel of Love. As we headed back to the bus, I was careful to let go of Jessica's hand before we ran into Miss Lunchcrunch, who stood before the bus holding a clipboard. She was busy counting the students and color points, while Derry, her hair was still messy. Makeup rained down for her eyes, and she looked even scarier than normal. Her dress was regular and disheveled. "Do you have a nice time today?" I asked. "It was wonderful seeing Miss Winter. I'm sure I ain't going to miss you too." For the brute moment, I thought she was going to hit me over the head with a clipboard. I saw her fingers changing the color as they gripped her in tower. Though clenched in her teeth and a minute twitch, she was barely able to get out the words. "Sit down." I did, right next to Jessica. Most of the way back we laughed and talked about the day at Super Adventure. We also spoke about the school layout that was quickly coming to a close. "Hey, Ronnie," she said, "at one point, you're really looking out. I just realized that you made it through the whole year without having to face your worst fear." I wasn't sure what my many fears she was talking about. "Oh, yeah," I started to answer, not knowing what to say. "I mean, you didn't have to stand out in class and do the book report, and you didn't even have to make a speech where we did Robin Hood. It's so funny that someone like you hates public speaking. But don't worry, the secret safe was me. All happened, I turned around to make sure no one was listening, and almost jumped. Miss Lunchcrunch was leaning forward in a seat right behind us. That sneak was trying to listen to our conversation. She looked into my eyes, and I realized I had never been so close to her face. It was truly horrifying for a second neither of us moved. Then slowly, without moving her gaze from mine, she leaned back and lifted her chin slightly and wicked smile playing around her lips. I turned around and whispered to Jessica, let's change the subject. For the rest of the ride back, we made sure to keep our voices down. I couldn't be sure whoever lunch club had overheard our conversation. By the time we got off the bus, though it was the last thing on my mind, I saw my father waiting. I saw my father waiting to pick me up, and as I said goodbye to my friends, I realized I had just enjoyed the best day of my life. Super Invention had definitely lived up to this name, and all I had left of the school there was tomorrow's graduation. How were the eyes? My dad asked as we drove off. Fine, I said. I'll be knowing them well as good as the kind of us. I don't know about that, Dad. I'm pretty sure one of them was actually Belle. We both smiled for different reasons. At the time, neither of us could have imagined the terrifying ups and downs that awaited me for the following day. Chapter 29, Graduation Day. Oh, are you just the destiny graduate? My great aunt Ellen grinned at me the next morning. I didn't know she was coming, but I was never shocked to see her. Thanks for coming, Aunt Ellen. Well, I couldn't miss my nephew's big day. I was vacationing with Victor and Pearl, but I was able to fly in late last night. Victor Johnson, I wondered. I had slept late that morning and was rushing around to get dressed for graduation. I was excited about the last day of school and was rapidly looking forward to seeing Jessica after the turn of love and the bus ride home. I knew now that it was time to ask her out for real, and for the first time all year, I was sure she said yes. The friend piled into the car and drove me to school. I was dropping it off at the farm my parents, aunts, and Penny went into the gym to resolve the best seat. Pretty soon I joined the rest of the class and know it. How dressed up everyone was. Slim was actually wearing a toddler. Hey, 007, you all set for graduation? I asked. He just gave me a look that told me he was miserable. The toys might have fit him the last time he worn it, but now it was so tight around his stomach that two buttons had actually popped off. Why do moms put their sons through the English dancing clothes? I wondered. All the girls were dressed and had collars wrapping around their wrists. We didn't have caps and gowns since Miss Lunscott had said they were only for high school kids. According to her, we were just finishing our time at and Bobby and moving up to middle school and therefore not truly graduate. That woman sure knew how to spoil every occasion, which I was about to be remembered on one last time. Not counting Miss Lunscott. Everyone was excited. It wasn't look ready to bust. Hey, Ronnie, I had a little surprise cooking up today. I looked at his twinkling eyes and thought, here we go again. Well, I said, don't do everything crazy. I just want to enjoy the moment. Don't worry, you're going to love it. Probably more than anyone. Besides, it's too late for me to change anything now. There was nothing I can do. So hopefully I really would like to his surprise. Besides, what trouble could he probably cook up on the last day. Before long, we were walking down to the gym where the ceremony was taking place. Miss Dillard's playing Miss Dillard's class was already filling in, and I could hear Miss Pennant playing popping circumstances on the piano, just as our class was getting ready to set in our seats on the stage. I noticed Miss Lunchcrunch still has that strange smile on her face. I I ever sat down this wall too many times before I knew bad news was coming before she opened her mouth. She monitored on my side. After Lord Atson's lesson day, I went straight to Miss Frebertot. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if he had back Lord Diploma. Could he do that? Would he do that? I tried not to worry and took a seat at the counter. We were sitting at the Cali, and I was happy that Russ's last name was Sly and just after mine. He sat down and laughed. Do you see, Josh? I think his chin is real shut. It's wild shut. It looks ridiculous. Oh man, I can't wait for my surprise. As we said the plays and sang My Country, till a D, a look out at all the parents and teasels. Occasionally flashes from cameras flickering in the diners. Finally, Mr. Philberton took the diploma. Congratulations to our graduates. We will now begin to call students up to receive their diplomas. I will call each student apoplectically, and I assure you, we will pause long enough for a nice picture. I saw Dave's dad instantly down the aisle. Came away. Okay, we will begin with Dave Anderson. Dave was met by applause and song shells and ladders coming from Carolyn on my right. Ronnie, doesn't he look good in the tie? Oh, I guess I wasn't really paying attention to Carolyn or even the large crowd of family members sitting there down just looking up at us. I was watching Miss Lunchcrunch standing next to Mr. Fibbertop. She saw me and gave me a little wave. I looked away from her and continued quietly watching other students receiving their diplomas. Carolyn Robinson. Mr. Fibbertop called out. She got up and walked to the parlor and with a big smile. This was it. It was next. Mr. Fibbertop cleared his throat and coughed for a brief second, and then said, This morning, I was met by the next graduate teacher. She implored me not to hand out her diploma with anyone else. She monitored that it wasn't what he desired, and I realized she was right. You see, some students continually do things that's separate for them from the group, and they don't deserve to be treated the same as anyone else. Yes, some students do so much more than they deserve special recognition. A smile spread across my face, and I let out a sigh of relief. The same couldn't be said of Miss Lunchcrot. She looked horrified as Mr. Fremberton continued. Yes, this year I've been astonished by one long man who has impressed on me more than any student I can remember. So, I wholly agree with his teacher that he deserves a little extra recognition. Recognizing. No, Mr. Longstrap screamed. Mr. Libertop laughed. No, I realize, Mr. Longstrap, that you want to make this a special morning. but I think he should receive his diploma now. Let us formally invite all star student or the jury up here. But, but, Mr. Lunchcrump looked like she was on the verge of collapse. Mr. Fibbletop reached back and patted her shoulder. I know it's very hard to say goodbye to one of your favorites, Miss Lunchcrump, Miss Lunchcrump, but all good things must come to the end. I said again, I know it's very hard to say goodbye to one of your favorites, Miss Lunchcrump, but all good things must come to the end. Winding rap on. Come on up here. The crowd roared as I walked to Mr. Fibbletop. He reached out and shook my hand. After the clapping died down, he continued, Miss Lunchcrump, you make do the horrors. He handed her my diploma. She just stood there, facing Tristan. Miss Lunchcrump, why this diploma? She looked like she had eaten something rotten. Mr. Fibbletop turned back to the microphone. She's overcome by emotion. It's okay, Miss Lunchcrump. Let me help you, gradually, with some insistence from Mr. Fibbletop. She held out her hand. I couldn't resist one last jab. I said loudly, I'm going to miss you too. I reached out and held her, and could feel her squirrel ass starting down his leg out one bit center. Ah! Mr. Fibbletop nodded his head as if to say, see, it's stuff like this that makes him special. Miss Lunchcrump looked like she was going to be sick, but manages to hold it together. Then, strangling her eyes began to trickle, and then devilish smile from yesterday returned to her face. I glowed. My whole life with her had become one immortal chess match, and she was about to make her next move. I was in trouble. She turned from me and joined Mr. Fibbletop at the microphone. He simply is a liquor shower. Mr. Fibbletop, Mr. Fibbletop, I may make a suggestion. My paws crookedly. The crowd picked up, wondering what was going on. I eyed the next door as she cleaned her throat and continued. I think it would be just terrifying if Rodney made a little speechless to say farewell to the school that loved him so dearly. After all, it's not every day we have an opportunity to hear from such a fine long man. What? She got me. She had overheard Jessica on the bus and knew about my fear of public speaking. I looked out at the hundreds of faces. I began to get dizzy and realized that Miss Lunchcrump had won the match. Well, I'm not sure. Mr. Fibbletop over silver. After all, he's appealing and, I'm sure his mouth can handle it. Miss Lunchcrump smiled. Well, Wani, what did you say? Before I could answer, Weston started shouting, Speeds, speeds, speeds. The entire gymnasium enjoyed him. Miss Lunchcrump began to first pump in time to the speeds chat. Then she turned to me and I felt her bony fingers guiding me into the microphone. My chest was pounding so hard and that I wondered if it was possible for a kid my age to have a heart attack. My breath was sharp and pinging it. I felt my principal version narrower and I prayed I wouldn't collapse right off the stage. My mind, as usual, began to search for the perfect excuse to get me out of this, and then it struck me. For the first time in my life, I realized that was another appearance. And instead of taking the crowd's where I could actually face my fear. Maybe I didn't have to realize on blank luck to save me. It felt so strange to think this way, like I had someone else brain in my head. Miss Lunchcrunch thrust the microphone into my hand. We're all waiting, she announced. Then, under her breath, she added, I ain't going to enjoy this. I looked over at my friends yelling, speechless, and couldn't believe my train of thought. I was really considering going through with it. It was now or never, for better or for worse. I decided to make the speech. Good morning. I tried to say, but nothing came out. The crowd was looking up as essentially, and I felt my face turn very hard. I had to calm down. I remember in something I had seen on TV that if you're nervous about speaking in front of people, you should picture them down in the underworld. I had nothing to lose. A look at and smile spread across my face. Maybe this will actually work. Seeing the people grab their clothes on my was funny and oddly relaxing. I took a deep breath and I was just bringing the microphone to my mouth when I caught sight of Miss Lunchcrunch. Before I could stop it, in a maze far too distorting for a boy my age spread into my mind to mine. Oh, ah, I cried. We can't hear you. Someone yelled from the back on the dais. Keep it together. I told myself I was then that the new. Growing up surrounded a voice inside my head made a suggestion. Whiny, why not just tell them the truth? I cried on my thought and heard it echo off the walls. The truth is, I began. I'm not a great public speaker. I've always been scared of it. Yeah, right. Rush to jail. The auditorium laughed. I looked at anyone and went on. Many of you know that this was the first jail at ball. I remember the first day. I was really nervous about coming here that day. Good one, Rodney. Soon shouted. I guess you knocked out Josh to conjure his odds. Lapping filled the air. I noticed Josh sank lower in his seat. Again, I started up, and this time it was a bit easier. I want to thank anyone here. My parents, Mr. Fibertop. Don't forget Jessica. Carol hollered. More laughs and my cheeks felt hot again. This time for a different reason. I was starting to feel good. I could handle speaking up here. Maybe it wasn't the jitterbug address, but I didn't care. I was facing a fear, and for me, the moment was special. I looked at the crowd. My friends were smiling and laughed. As we most understood us, I realized that all of them had changed during the layout. The look of fear was gone from their faces, and it made me feel good. I continued. This year I learned a lot, but I think the most important lesson I learned is that even a new kid can fit right in if he's lucky enough to make good friends. You know, they yelled, even cried they was getting in on the action. The peanut gallery was in well fun, and I realized there wasn't much point in Connie. Before I turned the microphone back to Mr. Fimbleton, I want to end by thanking Miss Lunchcrunch for this nice opportunity to say a few words. I paused and smiled at her decision. Finally, have a great summer, everyone. See you in Garrettsville Middle School, and let's go Mets. I looked at the cheering crowd. At times, being a hero puts you in a tight spot. But the reward can be pretty darn good. As it implies in my thoughts, Jessica blew me a kiss. I was feeling such a high of relief and happiness that I almost floated back to my seat as I muzzled past Miss Lunchcrot. I smiled and asked under my breath, "Got any more surprise for me?" Thought clenching teeth, she answered, "You bet I do, Rob Bond. By this time tomorrow, you know which of one of us has won. I sat down, wondering in front of Mona what she meant by slugging it off. After all, the school year was over in about 20 minutes. What could she possibly do to me now? Chapter 30. And the winner is. Once the commotion had died down and the rest of the departments had been handed out, Mr. Filberton announced that it was time to watch a video recap of the year. We moved to several empty rows reversing for us in the indictments, with Louis Armstrong singing "What a Wonderful World." The slideshow began our past year about. "Get ready," Rice whispered. Everything started fine. There were pictures of all us kids, including ones of me. In one slide, I was being sure at field day. Someone burst into applause, and I turned around just in time to see my mom elbowing my dad. We were both in start clapping, and then now short. Some of us was sitting together at our Halloween party in Mr. Lunchcrunch's class. Nothing seen out of the ordinary. Russie, however, was walking back and forth in the invitation. All of a sudden, a picture of Toby picking his nose, pop up. There were a wall full of bananas, and I noticed the computer ladies looked at each other. Toby's fell Toby's mouth fell open and his cheeks got dark and red. Wesley said, "Wait, it gets better." Another wall of laughter brought my attention back to the screen. This time it wasn't Toby, it was Jaws. There he was, spread out in the grass with a bloody nose on the first day of school. I laughed along with anyone else, but that feeling of thrill began to creep up my spine. The next pistol flashing up. This one had Josh again, only now he was on the bus with a swirl of black and blue nose. I bit my lip, knowing this wasn't good. B.Y. Rushing elbowed me and hollering it up with laughter. "You idiot! I don't. Can't you just leave well enough alone?" I noticed the computer ladies poking around trying to figure out what was going on. Flash, Johnson fell of the scar outside. Old Man Johnson's. Flash, John standing in the snow with a bed whip in his jacket, lethal jacket. Flash, John's covered in pink pants, holding his chain. "Come on, computer ladies, pull the plug." Roger was stumbling over, helpless with laughter, tears running down his face. I looked back in the crowd trying to see Josh, but couldn't find him. Flash, Josh covered in mud on field day. "Stop it!" Josh exploded. He couldn't miss him now. Screaming at the top of his lungs, he ran to the front and jumped up, trying to pull the screen down. He couldn't reach it and was yelling and ranting it crazy like a dog trying to attack a cat up in a tree. After jumping 7 or 8 times, he gave up his attempts. deciding instead to put the plug from the wall with a joke. By the time Miss Balls and Mr. Balls and Mr. Ball arrived and got in and flashed Giles out of the gym. Just as he was pushing through the door, he uttered a final yell. You think this is funny, Ratbone? I get you for this. The threat echoed through the stunning crowd. That was awesome, Watson laughed. I knew he'd go rusty. Yeah, real awesome, I thought. What could be better than getting your enemy even madder? Mr. Filmerton walked out to the podium. My deepest apologies. In all my years as a principal, I had never had such a moment in my building. I'm embarrassed and I'm sorry. Nevertheless, the game must go on. I mean, this remains a special day, and I think may have had enough purses for now. There is always time for cake and refreshments. So, please begin heading it down to the cafeteria. Thank you. Then he turned to me, Ronnie, meet me in my office. I'll be there in just a minute. All right, Mr. Femmerton, I answered. Just as my parents, sister, and aunt with me. I showed the feeling that everything was fine and headed down to the office, not knowing what to accept. I was sitting there looking up at Tom Silver when Mr. Femmerton walked in. I was slightly nervous. If he thought I was behind that fezzer, it might be too big. It might be too big a problem for him to overlook. One more, Ronnie. Your friend Rusty stopped me in the hall and explained that you had nothing to do with the slides. Is he in trouble? I asked. Not too much. It's the last day of school, and besides, he was smart enough to leave me out of my embarrassing pictures. Anyway, Ronnie, what did you want to see me about? Before I could explain that he had asked him to see me, a secretary interrupted. Mr. and Mrs. Dombrowski are here with George. Mr. Filberton put the ball down and Waterton to send them in. Sandwiched between his mom and dad, George walked in glaring at me and holding his chin. I wasn't too concerned since I'd soon be away from him for the summer. Mr. Filmerton launched right into it. Mr. and Mrs. Dombrowski. I apologize that the son was signed out in the slideshow, but that was a most disrespectful performance put on by Johns today. And it was just last week that he destroyed our punch table with his chin. John's mom started to cry, and his dad said, I don't know what else to do with him. We tried every solution we can think of. How about military school? I suggest it just came out. Mr. Filberton gave me a quick stern look, but then seemed to ponder on what I had said. John's parents stared at him. John's parents stared at me. Then at each other. Then at their son. Then back to me. Then back at me. That is an exciting idea, John's dad finally examined it. What is your name again, son? Ronnie. Mr. Filberton explains proudly. You can see why we give him extra attention at today's ceremony. He's always thinking. Anyway, I have some vegetables here in my filing cabinet. The discipline at Brokenshire Academy is second to none. Discipline is exactly what my son needs. John's dad said, that sounds like the perfect school for him. Give me the number. We'll send him there as soon as he gets home from summer camp. The one Miss Lonscrump recommended for him can't wow me. Then, for the first time, Mr. Filibertot seeming to realize that I didn't belong there. Oh, Ronnie, you don't have to stay. Go, enjoy some cake, okay? Okay then. And then rising to leave. Well, I'm glad I could help. Well, glad I can help. And Josh, enjoy our new school. Send me a postcard. Josh was sitting there, but his mom said, what a nice boy. When I was in the cafeteria, I explained to my parents and friends why I wasn't in trouble. When I told Weston about Josh's joke, you see how brilliant, you see how brilliant plans are. I got Josh sent to reform school. I sent Josh to reform. I got Josh sent to reform school. I feel like telling her that I appreciated his brilliance a whole lot more if I didn't always get me in trouble. Instead, I saw Jessica backing on into me from the hall and went right over. So, Whiny, summer's finally here. It is. I agreed, sliding it out to her. You're going to ask me something? I knew it was time to spread out the question, Jessica. Will you be my girlfriend? I will, she replied. As boyfriend and girlfriend, we'll be going to the beach, the pool, the park, and the movies. It's going to be the best summer ever. Totally agree, I said, and I mean it. Life couldn't get any better. But then she kissed me and did it. I left Jessica and my friends and rejoined my family and Aunt Ellen. We walked out to the car and drove off to the Brick Tavern for Freddy Burgers. I watched the town go by, saw the open car windows, and couldn't remember ever being so happy. For the first time in months, I actually relaxed and let my mind drift. I wondered if I had changed. Maybe everything was just blind luck. Maybe some of my reputations was dissolved. Besides, now, with the drought of jobs out of my life, I can forget about my reputation and finally be myself. I felt like a new person. We slowed down and stopped at the red light. Penny poked me. Hey, isn't that little friend? She teased it. I turned to the right. Josh was sitting in the basket. Josh was sitting in the back seat of his father's car, shaking a fist in my direction. I just smiled back. No hard feelings, buddy. I called over to him, rubbing my chin. He was about to get sharpening off to camp for the whole summer and will soon be a distant, harmless memory. Be sure to wave me a basket. Well, what do you know? My mother certainly pointed out exactly. It's Miss Lunchcrunch and her friend. It's Miss Lunchcrunch and her friend. I followed her gaze to the left, alongside us, stopping in a turning lane, was long-nosed Red's car. Miss Lunchcrunch poked her head out of the pedestal window and gave us a little wave. Who won, Ronnie? I had no idea what she was talking about. Which game? My dad asked her. As that light turned green, Miss Lunchcrunch shouted back, asked Ronnie. By now he should know the score. I could see her long nose giggling as they drove off. My dad shook his head. I'll say it again. That lady Newton there. I'll say it again. That lady nothing there. Now, my mother patted him on his arm. Don't say anything that will take away from the surprise. Surprise? And that's exactly. Well, My dad began. Little mother and I are so proud of you accomplishments this year that we thought it'd be nice to give you a special reward. I like the sound of that. We already paid for the whole thing, so you don't need to worry about the experience. I like the sound of that too. Maybe it was a new bike. Yes, son. Your mother and I had decided to send you a strip away camp this summer. What? I screamed. You see, my mom said, turn around to face me. Miss Lunchcrump recognizes it and said it would be an executive surprise. She even suggested on Parlano camp. It's called Camp One Meal. You leave tomorrow. Whitey, my father added with a big groan. What could be better than going to sleep away camp for the whole summer? I couldn't answer. I was too busy picturing Josh chasing me through the woods. Wiley's turning green. Panic shot. Panic flashed across my dad's face. Oh no. No again. And that is the end of this story of the final part 8 and the final third chapter of this book, How to Beat the Bully Without Even Trying. And one thing about the author, Scott Stanley, is an animated skilled teacher, soccer coach, and father of three. This is his first novel. He lives in York Alley, New York, with his family. And so, that's the end of the book. That is the end. I finished the final chapter in this book on chapter 30, or How to Beat the Bully Without Really Trying. And that was the final part 8 in this book. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been nice to listen. Please just subscribe to this video and learn that I have read this book. Thank you for everything for this book that I read. How to Beat the Bully is very special of reading this book. Until then, this is Joseph Kura. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Till then, take care.